All right, so I'm going to bring it back for a minute. So you were originally a South Florida boy, and you moved to New York to achieve your wildest dreams imaginable. You pursued acting, went to NYU. So what is it about acting and storytelling that drew you to the art, drew you to the craft of it?
Um, I think I just, I've always loved stories, movies, plays. I don't know. I think I was introduced to movies very young. I know my parents said the first movie I saw, I was like 6 months old, and they took me to a movie theater, and I apparently didn't make a noise the whole time, and was like just super invested in Aladdin, and loved it even from like being an infant child. Also, I think a lot of the ways I learned things growing up was through stories, and I used to like when stories had messages like, you should obey your parents, so they tell you a story of something bad that happened because kids weren't behaving, and then you learn that lesson. Um, that question is so cool because when you ask it, I think of all of the ways that storytelling and stories have been a part of my life, whether it be the way I learn things, like I said, or whether it be my dad is a great storyteller. He has hilarious, incredible stories, and people would say he likes to talk often as well. So we heard them a lot. I think it's just been such a part of my life, whether it be watching them, being told them, listening to them. I know it was something that I always really not only connected to, but wanted to actively be a part of. I wanted to be the person telling the story. I liked having that ability to quiet a room, I don't know, all of the things that feed into that. It's just a big part of who I am, I guess.
You got your really first big mega break joining Shadowhunters, which is a force of a show. I see a lot of fans here today commenting on how much they love this show. So how did that opportunity come up for you, and what was that audition process like?
Oof. The opportunity came, I had just graduated school, and I was starting to audition in New York as like an actor. I was living the dream. I had a job as I was a waiter at night, and during the day I was auditioning or doing other things in preparation for that. I actually auditioned for Shadowhunters multiple times. Like I auditioned, they had to change casting directors a couple of times. So I went in for like a first audition 3 times. Before that third one, I got a call back that they brought me to LA, and that was a whole other process where now I was actually seeing the other actors who were actively competing for the role. And it was like 8 of us in the first room. And then we had to go home, and we found out that night whether or not I was being flown back to New York or staying in LA to audition again the next day. And that's what happened. And then that night, same thing. Then it was only 3 of us. And it was like, all right, we'll find out if whoever gets to go home or whoever gets to stay and maybe get the role. And it felt very like reality TV almost in that, how it was like, oh, I have to wait. And it's like a contest. And then, yeah, but then I got the role. After that third audition, I was supposed to be going in for a chemistry read, not thinking I was the one reading with someone who'd gotten the role. And then that morning I found out I'd gotten the role, and the person was reading with me, and it was Katherine, Kat, that was reading with me because even now when I talk about it, it feels really crazy and like a story that was like too good to be true, but it was such a process, and it was a lot of fun, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you guys had a lot of fun. I've had Dom and Kat on the show, and they all say that this was like the most fun they've ever had, and you guys were such a family.
We really, we were all forced to live in this new country for the first time, all around the same age, putting on, like, telling this really epic story about this group of best friends who, like, confront adversity. So, like, we were, in a way, mimicking that by being this group of people brought to this new place to tell this one story, and we all had to become friends. We were all playing best friends, so it all kind of worked out in that way. I mean, we all feel really blessed with the group of people we were with, and then with the fandom that we got to be a part of, and we do talk about it a lot. We feel very blessed.
Oh yeah, and the fandom, people love your character of Simon. They just like have been commenting like crazy about how much they miss Simon. So why do you think people fell in love with this character in such a big way?
I know it would be very biased of me to say, well, because he's the best character. Like, let's just be real. But in the books, I mean. But I think it comes back to the Shadowhunters saga is this incredible story about these two worlds, the world we exist and live in as mundanes, and then this incredible supernatural world where all of the stories are true. And we're hearing all of this combined, but what's the coolest part is entering and discovering and seeing things for the first time. And Simon does that. Simon gets to be literally the audience's eyes into this new world. So when Clary and Jace are talking about the Institute, like it's this place, Simon's like, all right, that's cool. But when they get there, Clary's unfazed, and Simon's like, this is cooler than the Ops Center and the original Power Rangers with the floating face. Like, this is epic. There's, and another thing that I think people really like about him is he's unafraid to show his passion and his excitement. And as people, when we get older, we're told that that's not as cool. Like, don't show your passion so much. Be more reserved, a little. And I felt like he's someone that never listened to that. And that's why we were all excited. It's really exciting to see someone who's excited about something and to share that, because we're all entering the world at the same time. So being the most relatable, literally just because he's the fellow mundane entering. And then also I think it's his fire that burned a little bit brighter, so everyone feels that warmth. I think really, really connected people to him. Yeah.
So what were some of your favorite Simon moments?
Ooh. I always like the moments where Simon is like poking at the Shadowhunters, whether it's like poking at Jace for something he just said. So Simon's like, "You're really going to say that and try to sound serious? Because it sounds a little ridiculous." And the amount of fun he liked to have, that was all of those moments where you can tell, is that Simon having fun or Alberto having a lot of fun? Those moments are always my favorite, when I got to intersect that, what I think is really fun, and Simon, and getting to do it a few different ways and a few different times.
And I'm curious to know, why do you think, aside from it being, a book series, why do you think that the show attracted such a massive fan base in a pretty short amount of time?
I think it actually just had a lot of the right elements. It had this really interesting world that everyone, I think, is always interested in finding out about. Like, all these new places, very similar to Harry Potter. When we got to see the world of the magic world, it was awesome for us. It was like, oh, and then I think there's a part of us that's like, could that exist? I don't know. I mean, we're mundanes or muggles. We're not supposed to see it. So there's that play. So there's the world that makes it a super cool story. Just the world, the Shadowhunters, all of the stories are true in this world. Anything you've heard exists, which I think is like the coolest part about it. And then you've got these really interesting characters that have, like Clary, Jace, Alec, and they're half angels, and they're destined on this planet to fight demons. Like, that's super badass and like cool. And they have this ancient history in their world where they're like these ancient warriors that hold themselves to these ideals and whatnot. So there's that. So those are two layers. And then there's this third layer that I think is the most important layer in the show, and that's the human element. The story that allows us to connect to them as people, not just as these half-angel warriors. We're like, oh, they're people because Alec struggles with accepting part of himself. And there are a lot of fans that might relate with that and be like, oh, well, if this super powerful, all-knowing Shadowhunter is dealing with this problem, then I guess it's a pretty big problem to deal with, and it's not just me. If Simon is dealing with the fact that he's in love with someone that's not in love with him, but they can see that, well, Simon's great, why does she not see it? Then there are these human things that allow us to connect to these people that we're like, oh, I see myself in him or in her or in them and we took this crazy awesome world with these crazy cool people, and then we made them incredibly human. And that combination of this fantasy with reality, with this fantastical world with this utmost like love, which is like one of the truest things in this world, is just like this. It was like a perfect element. And then you see some of the people I got to work with are great, fun, curious artists, and it's just all the elements for something really cool to happen. And like I've said, I've felt very lucky to know that as an actor, there aren't many things that can affect people like that or that garner this type of attention. And to be a part of that is a dream come true and an absolute blessing. And then for that also to be where I've met some of my best friends, and I've entered this incredible world of a fandom that's so supportive but curious, like eager to grow but to learn and understand. Like it was a very complete package.
Would you reprise your role of Simon in any way, shape, or form in the near future?
In the near future, for me, that means within the next 5 years, and I would say I'd be very hesitant because I feel like it hasn't been enough time yet. It's still there are still campaigns to bring back season 4. So the show hasn't ended yet. I don't know if we can reprise it until it ends. But I was talking to Isaiah about, he brought up the idea. He's like, look, if they told us in 10 years we want to do a reunion episode where we get to see where everyone is, and I would be so down for that. Because I think, first of all, I love working with those people. So it'd be really cool to have an opportunity where we reconnect. I remember we had that moment on set on the last day where we all looked around, and I want to say our director said it, but it was like, he was like, guys, we'll never be all in a room together for the same reason again. Like, this is the last episode we're making of the show. This is the last time we're all going to be here to build this show in this way, relating to each other in this way. So it's a big deal. And for that to come back too soon would feel like we never really got to say goodbye. I don't know. I like that it needs to end in order for it to have a beginning again. Like, it can't just continue in this, because I think it deserves to have an end. It was a great show, and the ending left a few questions, but I think it was very hopeful. And then it would be cool in a bit when we kind of forget about them to say, oh no, what are they doing now? What is that whole world like now? Especially with the challenges that we're facing now. I wonder what society we would be mirroring then. Like what advances we've made that hopefully the Shadowhunters can be like, yeah, we did that. Or like we always do, it's like, okay, we're still in the fight. It's not over. Let's continue. I don't know. But I would want some time, I guess. Another long-winded way to say that.